the boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. It is time to crack open another season of Sacramento Kings basketball. We have made it. We are here, game 1 of 82, the Kings and the Timberwolves. We've got you covered all night long right here on If You Don't Like That, beginning right now with the pregame show. I'm Ryan in Sacktown. Come back on the other side. Let's get this thing going. Happy to see you all again.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of Williams, the Bucks, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
And a good evening to you. If you don't recognize my face, I am Ryan in Sacktown. I handle the pregame duties around here and am the host of the Kings Court Monday through Friday. I've been doing the show for 3 years with Napes here on the channel. So happy that you're here. It has been a minute, man. Has it been a long wait to get back to this point, the point when the Kings are 0-0. So excited to have everybody on board with me tonight. As I said, we've got a full, and I mean a full night of programming for you, and you're going to want to come back at halftime. Jerry Reynolds will be right here with us, getting the first half all broken down. Grant will be here as well, talking about what we see. Kings opening night, tough preseason, throw it out the window. It is time for the real deal. These ones count now. So we are hoping that tonight is as fun as we expect it to be, with a very difficult task of the Minnesota Timberwolves rolling into town, who just lost their first game of the season against the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll get you all ready for that as well. And halftime is not where it ends. Make sure you come back. The post-game show, that is our signature show here on If You Don't Like That. We'll be taking your calls. We're implementing some new things as well. If you've been a part of the show before, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, make sure you come give it a try. You will really, really enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe, and do me a favor, give us a thumbs up. Really helps us with the algorithm. Doesn't get you into any crazy scam deals. We're not going to pop up on your phones, take them over, but it does help the channel. So thank you all so much for being here. All right, the question of the show for everybody tonight: if the Kings pull this one off tonight against the T-Wolves, who is going to be your defensive player of the game? Who's taking the throne? Who's wearing the chain? What's it going to be this year? Put your predictions in the chat. We will also get your final score predictions for this one as well. Before we kick off and really get into tonight, we talk about the particulars, get you updated on who's in, who's out. I got to give all you some love. ESPN has voted the Golden One Center as the best arena in the NBA. Yeah, you guys all got voted over Madison Square Garden. Take that, Marv. Yes. That is a facial, Marv. Sacktown has you beat. So if you are at the game, let us know what section you're in. Check in. We would love to hear from you. Also, what did you think of the preseason? I know where it's in the past. We are moving on from it. But where's your excitement level for this season? I've chronicled it a lot coming into tonight, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but let's take a look back at this Sacramento Kings team and what they did against the Timberwolves last year. They had a lot of success against the T-Wolves. In fact, they handed them their first loss on their home floor. They had been undefeated up until Sacramento ran into them. Now, Kings got a little bit of a gift with Anthony Edwards heading to the hospital in the second game of the 3-game series last year. But what we take from it, or at least what I took from it, is this team matches up decently with that version of the Timberwolves. Well, that version of the Timberwolves is not quite this version of the Timberwolves in a shocking trade that went down right before the start of the season. Yes, right before the start of the season, Julius Randle heads to Minnesota. Karl Anthony Towns out the window and to New York, which came as a surprise to many. Did not come as a huge shock to me. Nonetheless, Coach Brown had his thoughts on this version of the Timberwolves. Here's how Coach Brown sees this one.
Big, it's really, really big team. They can take a little bit of time to get used to playing with one another. You could tell, but as bad as they think they might have played, they still had a chance to win it, and so they're a very, very formidable opponent. And it starts with their size. Also starts with Anthony Edwards, and then Julius Randle. And then even the big fella Rudy Gobert.
And that is where it starts with Julius Randle. And he's getting acquainted. Now, if you paid attention to the Timberwolves' last game, their first game of the season, it was against the Los Angeles Lakers down in LA. Bronny Mania, send him to the G League. The G League needs him, and Bronny James needs the G League. Can we get that out of our systems and be done with? Last year, the Kings did a great job of out-hustling many games the Minnesota Timberwolves. And in this game against the Lakers, the Timberwolves brought barely any hustle. In fact, don't look at the final rebounding numbers. Throw them out the window. The Timberwolves finished one board ahead of the Lakers. They were out-rebounded for the majority of the game. They end up losing that game 110-103. And the scary part about that is the T-Wolves still had a chance to win despite the lack of effort, the sloppy play, as Chris Finch, the Timberwolves head coach, said after the game, the sticky ball, not a lot of ball movement. So what's that mean for tonight? What that means for tonight is I expect this Timberwolves team to come in and come with some aggression. They're going to try to get to the boards. They're going to try to do those little things. And it all begins with the two guys, one we mentioned already, Julius Randle, but more important than him, Anthony Edwards. You can take a look at the numbers of what they did last game in LA. There's your box score for the Timberwolves. You can also check out their team stats as well. But Anthony Edwards, he's a unicorn. This guy's a throwback. He's one of those guys that's got a little bit of Vince Carter in him. He's got a little bit of, don't hate me, not saying he's the same guy. He's got a little MJ in him, just in the way that he plays the game as a throwback two guard. Looks like he stepped out of a time machine. He should have been playing in the 90s with that crew. But Julius Randle gives them a completely different look in this sense. Karl Anthony Towns spread the floor out more for that Timberwolves team, more of a perimeter threat than an inside threat. Julius Randle is somewhere in between those two, and they're still trying to get it figured out. In the first game, Julius Randle was a little bit hesitant to shoot the ball. Anthony Edwards took the majority of the shots for the Timberwolves, along with Dante DiVincenzo. He got a lot of shots too. Him and Randle combined for almost 21 or 22. But what I'm saying is they're going to come out a little different. They did not control the controllables in LA. And I doubt Chris Finch, with a day off in between that game and tonight, is going to tolerate it this game. Now, one of the big questions about this Minnesota team is the point guard. We've seen Phoenix the last couple years really not work out that great for one simple reason. You're asking Devin Booker to do something that is a complete waste of his talent, and that's distribute. You should have somebody getting Devin Booker the ball. Well, the same goes here for this Minnesota Timberwolves team. Mike Conley, an OG, a guy that has done it the right way, been in the league forever. He is on the decline. So the Timberwolves right now, we're looking to see who is going to be that next distributor. But as they said, they struggled with some length last game. That's going to shift to the Kings this game. The Kings are going to struggle with the Timberwolves' length. We'll talk about how I think they combat it here in a few seconds. As I said, you are more than welcome to call the show. We can get you in, get you out, give your take for the game, give your prediction for the defensive player of the game, final score, whatever it may be. We kick it off with Corn Dog. Welcome into the pregame show.
It's finally time.
It's go
here.
time. It is indeed, my friend. And what can I do for you?
So I think from this game, I just want to see how this lineup works with DeRozan, Herter, Fox, Keegan, and Sabonis. See how well they gel together. And then the next thing is see if we can shoot maybe a solid percentage from the free throw line. That's kind of just to ease us into, maybe this is going to be a little bit better of a season than last season. If, those things happen, I think we'll be in for a pretty good year. Just those two, like, little things right there will definitely turn the tide from last season.
Certainly. And I think those things are going to take a little bit of time. In fact, I'll play this with you while you're right here. Coach Brown talked about that, not getting too high after the first game, not getting too low after the first game, depending on the result. Here was Coach Brown.
No, don't get me wrong. We want to win. We want to win every freaking game. So as the competitiveness is going to kick in, but at the end of the day, I guess I don't want to overreact either way, especially these first 5 or so games. And I don't want to be in a hole. I don't want to sacrifice losing to figure stuff out. But in the same breath, I do like our team. And I know I'm not going to panic if we don't start the way that, I want to. I'm hoping for us to start. That's awesome.
And if you look at the preseason, not to go back to it, the time, and let's take 2 games out of the sample size, Corn Dog. Let's take the Blazers game out, and we're also going to take the last game against the Clippers out. You look at what the starters did. They actually did not play bad basketball. In fact, the first preseason game against the Warriors, where they were up 68-66 at the half, I thought that was exactly what Mike Brown was looking for in this type of team with DeMar DeRozan. Now they were winning the points in the paint, something they did 4 out of 5 games in the preseason. So it'll be interesting to see what the wrinkles are tonight, because we've seen nothing offensively, Corn Dog, yet.
Yeah, we have it. And, again, this team is built to, just score, and score and keep up with, Dallas and Boston, really. Like that's kind of the goal this team has with the unit we built. And right now you see Dallas and Boston are scoring a lot. So we're going to have to score to keep up with those guys. So if we can, hit around those, 100 and teens areas, I think we'll be pretty good on the offensive end. And then we'll see how well we put, Keegan on probably Anthony Edwards, because I don't want Herter on Anthony Edwards, and see how that works out. Obviously, they have a lot of bigs, so rebounding is probably not going to be a strong point this game. But there are going to be some other games like with smaller ball teams that we might be able to, with Sabonis out there, get the rebounds. So it's going to be give or take on the matchup with, how our team works with, being more physical or just out shooting guys.
Yeah, I hear you. Corn Dog, thanks for kicking us off tonight on the pregame show.
All right, go Kings, baby.
Go Kings, baby. Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. Now, let me show you something really quick. This is what I was talking about in terms of the Kings and their shot clock, or their shot charts. It made a big difference. Did I take that shot chart away? I thought I still had it in here. Did I take it away? Damn it, Ryan. I took the shot chart away. All right, shot chart's gone. Never mind. We can move on. But Corn Dog brings up a good point. It is pace versus grinding it out. And we're going to get to the Kings rotation here in just 1 minute. The Kings in Utah took 105 shots. I don't expect them to take 105 shots tonight. But if the Kings play to the tempo that Mike Brown is looking to get them at, they should outshoot quantity-wise the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are going to want to slow it down a little bit and also expect a healthy dose of zone defense from the Kings tonight because of the length that Minnesota plays with, that they have. And Minnesota did not actually adjust well to the zone when the Lakers threw it at him a couple times last game. But the zone defense opens up one thing, and that is offensive rebounding. The Kings last year were second in the NBA, keeping their opponents off the offensive rebounds or off the offensive boards, which is a big deal. That is a huge improvement. They were 12th in the NBA getting on the offensive boards themselves. So can they find a body? Can they push the pace? Can they extend the defense, push the Timberwolves off of their spots here and there? We will see. Corndog getting a ton of love on the channel. Again, thank you so much for being here. Ryan in Sacktown with you. We are getting you ready for the Kings and the Timberwolves tonight from the G1C. It is 1 out of 82. And again, I can only speak for myself. I can see the excitement in the chat. A lot of just readiness, a lot of just anxiousness to get this thing going for real here in Sacramento. Now, some of you in the chat brought up the rotation. Yes, Kevin Huerter is back. He is going to be in the starting lineup tonight, which comes as a surprise to some. Not a big shock for me, simply for the fact that Mike Brown has been very, very loyal to Kevin Huerter. Now, there's going to be no minutes restriction on him, but that doesn't mean that Mike Brown's not going to have a quick substitution pattern. I don't think that has anything directly to say about Kevin Huerter, his conditioning, or ability to match up with Minnesota. I think it's simply because of the opponent that you're playing. You need to show them different looks defensively. And one of those guys that really kind of rocked the boat last year for your Kings was Keon Ellis. He got the majority of the starting reps in training camp. In fact, got all of the starting reps until up in 2 days ago when the Kings scrimmaged. And he's going to be ready to go. One thing that I remind you about Keon is Keon has made a living out of being ready and made a living out of spot duty. So I would expect, as well as Keegan Murray, as well as De'Aaron Fox, you're going to get a healthy dose of him, Keon, on Anthony Edwards tonight. Coach Brown had this to say about Keon and what it does for the team knowing that you have a Keon Ellis on your bench.
Extremely valuable. He's different than what we have in terms of his skill set, and you like the fact that you can throw him into the game and he can guard multiple guys on the perimeter, different types of players, especially guys that thrive in the pick and roll situation, while also being able to knock down an open catch and shoot three. His deflection rate is off the charts, and then for a guy his size, he's a pretty good rebounder too. So there are a lot of good things that we see from a young guy in Keon, and you love his readiness because every time we called his number and threw him in the game, he seemed to have an impact in some way, shape, or form.
He absolutely did have an impact. He was partially responsible for the fact that the Kings' net rating almost tripled after the All-Star break, and that's when they experienced their worst rash of injuries. That is when they were losing games, getting screwed by the refs, but the physicality went through the roof. And the refs, if you've been paying attention to the NBA so far, short in this season, the refs are letting guys play. Will that be the case tonight? I sure as hell hope so, because you do. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You lose something on defense when you have Kevin Huerter in the starting lineup, but it is a trade-off. You gain a little bit more on offense, even if Kevin is not making shots. It changes the spacing. It changes the way that teams have to guard the Kings overall. And what it does is open up the middle for Domantas Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, those guys to operate. That first game that the Kings came out against the Golden State Warriors in the preseason, Domantas Sabonis not shy about shooting the mid-range, Jay, something we said he needed to work on in the preseason. Also, he was attacking his man instead of attacking a spot, and it showed. DeMar DeRozan, 6 for 6 in that first preseason game. What you were looking at a second ago is the Kings' stats last year against the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's good to look at. It's a good sample size because this Minnesota team has not changed too much. Now, Keon Ellis, while he's on the court defensively, what that does is he is probably the best guy on the Kings that can get through ball screens, and you are going to see a healthy dose of those tonight from Minnesota. A lot of isolation, also a lot of high-low basketball where they're throwing the ball from the top of the key to the bottom between the bigs. And Keon Ellis is one of those guys that can get through those screens. And what he also does is free up De'Aaron Fox to guard the off guard, to be able to play a little bit of free safety, if you may. And if you look at De'Aaron Fox's steals last year, they went through the roof when he was on the court with Keon Ellis. So another guy that the Kings have been without, Trey Lyles. He is ready to go and available for the Kings tonight. If you remember last season, Trey was dealing with injuries most of it, but when he first came back, because he missed the first 3 or 4 weeks of the Kings season, he came out with a freaking bang. So I'm curious to see what Trey is able to do off the bench. I would also expect a decent helping of Jordan McLaughlin. Jordan McLaughlin has been a very pleasant surprise for this Kings team in this sense. Mike Brown has been looking for players to take things off of De'Aaron Fox's plate, take things off of Domantas Sabonis' plate that doesn't have to be the scoring, doesn't have to be the assist. It's the little things. And that's exactly what Jordan McLaughlin did for most of the preseason, which is why Mike Brown started him in the final preseason game. And I would say that has been a surprise to me. Let me know if it has been a surprise to you. But nonetheless, we are counting it down. We are just about 15 minutes away from game number 1, your Sacramento Kings versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Hopefully the Kings come out strong, come out with some energy. I've seen it in the chat. Keep the turnovers low. That is an absolute key. One name that we have not mentioned yet, Malik Monk, struggled throughout the preseason. I'm looking to see what the Kings do with him in the second unit. And you can expect that at any time you will have Fox, Sabonis, or DeRozan on the floor. I don't think all three of them will be out at any point at the same time unless the game is out of reach. But Malik Monk brings a different aspect to this offense with the second unit, especially with the pick and roll. So really looking forward to that. What are you all looking forward to tonight? What do you think the keys to this game are against Minnesota? Put them in the chat. In the meantime, want to give a huge thanks to Bennett's West Side Grill. Yes, go to bennettsrestaurants.com. Check out all 3 of their locations in the greater Sacramento area. If you've been with us since season 1, the West Side Grill is the newest in Rockland in the Blue Oaks Town Center. My, oh my, if you've never been to Bennett's, check out the menu. They've got prime cuts of seafood, prime cuts of steak. It is not going to break your bank. And by the way, you will not leave hungry. On top of that, they have incredible specials that run throughout the week and the weekend. You've got happy hour Monday through Friday. Weekend, yes, weekend brunch, 2 entrees, bottle of champagne, under $50. Beautiful patios too. This is the perfect time of year for brunch. And now at bennettsrestaurants.com, you can order your meals to go. You can put it on straight there on the website, making it easier for you. You can make reservations, buy gift cards, much more. A huge thanks to Bennett's for sponsoring the Kings Court pregame show, Kings and the Timberwolves. We're getting ready tonight for the Kings and the T-Wolves. Don't forget, at halftime, Jerry Reynolds will be joining us here on the channel. The only place you will hear from Jerry. Looking forward to having him, and Grant and I will wrap up the action for you tonight. It is a slow night around the NBA. In fact, only a few games going on tonight. You've got the Celtics winners 122-102 over the Wizards. The Mavericks 120-109 over the Spurs and Wemby. The Nuggets and the Thunder, that one's getting ready to tip off here in a little bit. The Nuggets are a 1.5 favorite. So who you got in those? The Kings, we'll put that back up for you really quick. The Kings, I believe, are 1.5 favorites tonight as well. So give me your final score predictions. Let me know what you think. Cody hopping in 112-105. Kings win. Anthony, let's go Kings. Yes, indeed. Oh, Justin, my man. Have you had the mushroom soup? That mushroom soup?
Give me a hell yeah.
It's bad. It is so good. Adam, 107-103. Need to score more than them. Bane, my man, dude. Bane, what would we do without you here on the pregame show? Brilliant. Literal brilliance right there for us. Really quick, the free throws. I want to address that because it was a big point of the offseason. De'Aaron Fox had one of his best off seasons of his career. I heard it from people around him, people around the team, and the Kings have had a huge focus on free throws in this offseason, as they should have. Their free throw attempts were down 16+% last season. Their made free throws were down 21+% last season. I expect that to change, but what I don't know about is the percentage. Regardless of the percentage, getting to the free throw line gives the Kings the opportunity to set their defense. It gives them the opportunity to get the other team in the bonus. That starts with your guy in number 5 who is looking for that super max contract this year, De'Aaron Fox. Look for him to be aggressive early and often. Also, look for him to hit that spot up 3, especially from the wing. He shot at it just over 43% last year, not off the dribble, off the catch. And he, in training camp, was knocking those down consistently. Domantas Sabonis, we might get a couple threes out of him. I wouldn't think much, but the mid-range, that is what's going to be big. And can the Kings play physical without fouling? This is not a deep team right now. They are not. You've got maybe an 11-man rotation. So it's going to be very important that the Kings are able to keep a flow going to this game and not foul too much. We saw them play pretty well, especially early in the preseason, physical without fouling. The younger guys, those were the ones that struggled. So all big things to look for. Again, this Timberwolves team, a completely different look with Julius Randle. I go back to that. Anthony Edwards, star, future face of the league here in the NBA. But they tonight are going to be looking for their supporting cast. And I go back to this. It starts with their effort. Chris Finch was not happy with what he saw in Los Angeles, coming off a pretty good preseason for them, which only saw Julius Randle playing one preseason game in a Timberwolves jersey. Frog hopping in there with his prediction, 118-111. Here's something to think about too. We talked about this a lot on the channel. The three-pointers. It's not the percentage they make. It's the amount they take. I think the right number for the Kings is right in the neighborhood of 35-40. If they're shooting 35-40, they win the battle in the paint, which they have shown they've been able to do. And by the way, Domantas Sabonis, really quick before we get out of here, watch him tonight. I had the pleasure of watching him in training camp, watching him through the preseason. He looks just a little bit quicker. He looks a little bit more explosive, which just absolutely blows my mind because this guy was already a machine. See how that makes a difference tonight against the big men, because we're saying the Kings are small. They're going to have to deal with the length. Well, there are benefits to being small, and it starts with playing smart basketball, the turnover game, the assist game. Usually when the Kings are 3-1 in that category, they are winning basketball games more times than not. Again, hey, don't forget halftime. We are right back here on If You Don't Like That. The one and only Jerry Reynolds will be with us looking forward to that. If you haven't already, do me a favor, please give us a thumbs up. It really does help the algorithm. If you're watching on Twitter, give us a retweet. We would really, really appreciate it. That will take you to If You Don't Like That's YouTube page. This is the 3rd season we have been doing this, pregame, halftime, and postgame. You can find the entire library there. And also, hit me up on the Kings Court. Scan that QR code. That is your daily Insider Kings podcast, giving you a breakdown from the night before, what I saw in the film, talking to my sources. A lot of people have already jumped on the Kings Court train. Give it a try. I think you'll like it. Would really appreciate that as well. And don't forget, post-game show tonight. Grant and I wrap up the night for you. We'll be taking your calls and really pumped for game number 1. It is a clean slate. This is probably the most excited I have seen this fan base in a very long time. Kings fans, you have the strongest foundation you have had in at least 18 years. You have a coach that's been re-signed with extra time on his contract, a GM that got extended already. The Kings, this is the year, not just for them as an organization. And I'm not talking about winning a championship, I'm talking about taking the next step. It's also the year for De'Aaron Fox. He is going to be motivated. He is searching that supermax, and he had a hell of an offseason by all accounts. So enjoy the first half. We're going to get ready to get you out there. We will be back again at halftime. Yeah, the fan base is a little bit on edge. I understand. I get it. But again, Mike Brown, one of the most encouraging things to me, Mike Brown said he really handcuffed the guys offensively this preseason, which makes sense. He made them play out of the flow. Now, where you should get concerned is if this unit gets stagnant. There's no reason for it. This unit should not be stagnant. Keegan Murray, look for him to be aggressive. Doesn't matter what he does on the offensive end. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't affect what he does on the defensive end. By far, to me, the captain of this Sacramento Kings defense. So we're going to get you out to the game. Join us back at halftime. Thank you so much for joining us for the first pregame show of the season. Can't wait to see you at the half. Grant and Jerry are looking forward to it. As well, as I always say at the end of my shows, go Kings. Light the damn beam. Stay the hell away from Levine. Still, stay the hell away from him. Have a great first half. We will see you at the end of 24 minutes.